I split up with my wife because she cheated on me and ran away, saying it was just for fun. She did come back though, begging for my help, so I did this. At this point, my wife and I had been married for 12 years. We think that we got married when we were pretty young. It felt good for both of us at the time, or at least she was pretty young. The year and a half that we were together was enough for us. We knew we were supposed to be, but following certain events makes me wonder if that's still the case. Along with my brothers. I run a jewelry business that we started from scratch and have grown to make a lot of money, which is always something to be proud of. I have a great job. I know that running a business with family can be hard, but for us, it's been a dream come true. We've never been the kind of brothers who fight all the time, so your situation may be different. My wife, on the other hand, built a cute cafe where people could read books, eat sweets, and drink coffee. She is proud of the fact that reading is a big part of who she is and has always loved it. I really didn't like those people before I met her. I am, however, a liar. Please bite me. I had to admit that the idea really interested me because I was trying to help her. Giving her money to help pay the rent on the cafe spot was a nice thing to do. The price is high because it's in a nicer part of town, but the business is making money, so I didn't have to think about rent. That made me happy. I think that's all the background you need. This is where the real story starts. Even though I can't remember the exact date, I think she told me about this new man who had shown up at the cafe in March. She said he looked pretty good. As someone who likes to be relaxed, I learned that we could talk about someone's beauty without making it a big issue. But there was something different about the way she talked about this person after that. Rumor has it that he looked like the kind of male hero that women like to read about in the smut. Yes, she also likes reading those kinds of books. It's always stumped me why those women seem to be interested in book talk. It seems like the most corny form of romance. Anyway, she talked about this man for a while before it ended, but I have to say that some of the words she used were the same ones she used to describe the cold Russian hitman who fell in love with a woman in the laundry room of their apartment building. Sorry, I didn't make that up. That is taken from a real book she likes to read. That was the end of the day, but she told me that he came back the next day and they talked for a long time. She told him that he was from Serbia and had been a car salesman before he decided to come to the US to make a better life for himself. It took him a while to get up and figure out where he was again. Because he was good at it, he was looking for work at nearby shops. In about 10 minutes, I learned that he was tall, blonde, good-looking, well-dressed, and spoke with an accent. It looks like he read a lot of fantasy books, like The Lord of the Rings, and I liked reading books that took place in the Wild West. This wasn't unusual. She often tells me stories about the people who come into her cafe, but there was a lot of flowery language used this time. And she seemed to be interested in him sexually. She finally stopped talking about him a lot because he wasn't new to her anymore, but it was clear that he was still coming to her cafe, and I felt a lot better knowing that he didn't seem to need long outbursts every night. I even saw a man who looked like him sitting in the corner when I went to her cafe one afternoon to bring her lunch. Certainly. I was sure it was him because he was so handsome. Ivan was his name, she said. Things start to get a little crazy around now. The night she got home, she had a stupid smile on her face, so I asked her what was wrong. Ivan was supposed to take her home, and she said that they had talked a lot about books on the walk. They both agreed that when he asked her to go on a date, she told him she was married and couldn't do it. She softly shook my hand, said goodnight, and left. He told her he was sorry. It's like something out of a book, she said when I asked her what was making her smile so big. To be honest, I didn't like that part because it seemed like she was romanticizing everything she said to Ivan. I didn't know that because he often went to her cafe. Without a doubt, they would keep talking almost every day. She could have told him she wasn't seeing anyone, but I didn't. You want to seem like you're not at ease. So once more. I felt some way about it, but I didn't think it was important to talk about it. Shouldn't I have moved on from how I felt? After about a week, my wife brought home a bunch of flowers and put them in a box right away. That's when I realized this wasn't true. She said it was from Ivan. Nothing interesting. He said he had bought a lot of fur friends. He now has a job too. That day was her birthday. He always sees how hard I work, so he just thought it would be a good idea to get me some. I got really angry when she said that because she was trying to act like a child who didn't know when someone liked her. I asked her straight out if she could feel how much Ivan loved her. She thought the flowers were just a nice thing to do, but she said it was clear, especially since he had asked her to go on a date. What was going on? As a guy, you probably don't buy flowers for a girl who turned you down. As a nice thing to do, even though she was already married. He was still trying to get into her pants, or maybe he was trying to do it without talking about the other emotional things. At the time, he was having a great time with his approaches. I knew he wasn't going to quit anytime soon. After 2 days, my wife came home a little later than usual, which proved that I was right. There was more than 2 hours between when she said she would be late and when I saw her. It gave her 2 calls, but no one answered the first one because she had been home late before. They decided to give it some time. But she got home before I could call her a 3rd time, and it was clear she was happy. I had a crazy night that you won't believe. In her long speech, she talked about how she showed Ivan where the museum was and how they wanted to eat American pizza because he had never tried it and had only seen it in movies. That was the first thing she said. After that, they talked, walked, ate pizza, and did a lot of other things I didn't care about, but I let her keep going. When she was done, I asked her if she was interested in Ivan. She told me that I was the only person she felt that way about. She looked shocked and upset, that she was just trying to meet a tourist from another country who didn't have any family or friends nearby to show him around and answer his questions. I'm still not sure about all of this. So I told her straight out that she needed to end her relationship with Ivan. In fact, that caused a very heated fight. She said, as expected, that it was being scared, that nothing was fair, that it shouldn't feel threatened, and a bunch of other nonsense. I was very angry, but I was able to keep it in check and keep my anger from exploding. But I wouldn't give in, so I told her to stop all of her activities outside of school that involved Ivan. He had a right to go to her shop since he was a customer, but that wasn't supposed to be the end of things. A Serbian girl came in to buy a ring and planned to take her on a trip around town and all that. I told her to think about what she would do if she were me. She said, "I would understand, but I think we all know that's not true, do we?" In short, I slept on the couch. The good news is that I stopped hearing about Ivan and all of his trouble, which was good for my emotional health, but that shouldn't come as a surprise. Once more, I knew she would be talking to him at her cafe, but there were only so many things that could happen there. Plus, she always got home at the same time, so I was sure nothing was going on. I became very suspicious when I went into my wife's cafe without her there one afternoon. He wasn't there, and neither was Yvonne. But it didn't matter because I wasn't sure he would have been there anyway. But because she wasn't there very often, her loss did have a big effect. It crossed my mind to wait for her to come back or ask one of her staff members where she had gone, but I decided not to stress too much about it. As I walked back to my car on the other side of the street, I saw her and Ivan walking up the street with their arms around each other. Hey. I stood in the car and watched them walk into the cafe. When they were done, I drove away, even though I really wanted to cross the street, hit the guy, and swear at her. It was hard for me to understand what had happened yesterday. I wanted to talk to her about it as soon as she got home, but I think that knowing something that someone else doesn't know gives you a lot of power. It will make it easier for me to find other possible lies. In this case, when I asked her how her day had been when she got home, she said it had been pretty normal, and she hadn't done much. I'm here because I have no idea where Ivan is. Should I try to find out more about the truth before I talk to her? I'm more likely to say the second one because the more I think about it, the more I think that something is wrong with my nose, and I think that if I talk to her, I will never find out the truth. Please tell me what you think. Happy Monday. This is the man from the post about the Serbian man and his wife with the cafe. I've come back with a big improvement. I learned a lot, so let's talk about it. It took me a while to get the confidence. I finally decided, though, that I had to find out the truth, no matter what. Even though I rarely find the thought of checking my partner's phone funny, I knew I had to put any moral doubts I might have had aside and do it. That is, while she slept. When I had the chance, I jumped at it right away. It wasn't a surprise that she had been using her texting app to talk to Ivan a lot. Because it was WhatsApp, it was easy to save the whole chat as a text file, which I moved from her phone to mine. Of course, I made sure to get rid of the proof. I found some pictures of them smiling together in public that she had, but nothing that really made me think they were cheating. I sent them as texts to my cell phone too. Proof was erased once more. It took me about 5 minutes to do all of that and put her phone back where it belonged. Then I read everything on my phone, which made it seem a lot less strange if you woke up early. I was scared to death by everything I saw. This is a copy of a part of the talk that scared me. The event took place after they talked about a book that my wife had proposed. Let's call my wife Clarice instead of her real name. Also, Clarice, the main characters made me think of you and me. Yes, I had the same thought. The pretty artist girl who was stuck between him and her boyfriend and the big, mysterious hottie. Right after that, in an email, and a lot of hot sex scenes. That part makes me think of us in particular. I agree that having sex is always fun, but you're having it with your husband. Then there was a silly laugh image. Emojis that make Clarice laugh. Yes, and I think that's what makes it more fun and exciting. It's really not right. Even though I've never cheated, I can't say I feel bad about it. That's why it's always so hot. Yes, and I hope this goes on forever. It drove me crazy. It was 2 in the morning. At that point, I couldn't stay with her, so I went for a walk outside. I would have gone in a crazy direction. I thought it was a good idea. Even though it was only 3 in the morning when I got back, it felt like I had been out exploring the town for 5 hours. She was also still asleep. Have you ever felt like you were being cheated on and then found out that your wife liked doing everything behind your back just to make fun of you? How she was what really pushed me over the edge. It wasn't like cheating would be okay anyway. When I got back, she was still asleep. Then I took her phone, skipped to the important part of her conversation with Ivan, and recorded it on her phone. Hey, it was important for me to make it clear that this was not a case of doctoring. It was completely wrong that I had to be the victim in this, even though it was clear that Clarice felt like she was living out one of her silly stories. She doesn't know that I know this. The breakup is getting ready. It's not likely to go any other way. I also have to watch her fall. I need to see Ivan fall too. It's important to me that they both suffer and feel terrible pain. I'm not sure how to do this. Second update. It was finished, and it looked beautiful. This is the end of the story of Ivan, a Serbian man, and Clarice, his honest but dull wife. They didn't understand that they should have cared about me a lot more during this whole thing. Let me skip over the boring parts of the story. I parked my Uber across the street one day while Clarice went to work. It was easy for me to see the process server walk into the cafe and hand her the divorce papers. We drove off after that, which was a lot of fun. Thanks for a great day at work. I was glad to see that by the end of the day. I hadn't gotten any missed calls or texts from Clarice. No amount of begging would make her forget that someone had made out with her. At least that's how I saw it. She came back that night, crying so hard she couldn't stop. It's not coming out of her nose. I mean, she really did look like a mess. I felt a little sad when I saw her like that, and I thought it was because of the love that was still there. It didn't last long, though. Her mind kept going back to Ivan. What went wrong? I saw that she didn't know how much I knew. Prior to not being able to figure out what I knew, she must have tried to see if her operation had any leaks. In the end, I kept my word, even though it was up to me if I should tell her about Ivan. As we walked hand in hand, I told her I had seen her but hadn't told anyone else. I said I had been keeping it a secret. At that point, she got bold and started pleading with me while calling me stupid. She said that wasn't a good enough reason to split up. It was wrong to think she was still seeing him. But I was acting shaky, and there was nothing going on between them. It made me angry. She didn't seem to know whether to insult me or apologize. After I told her to leave, she finally did. That's where the real breakup process starts. That part was really fun for me. There is a lot more to lose in a divorce for me, because I have a lot more money than she does. But there is also a lot more to spend on good lawyers, which is what I made sure to do. Are a good divorce lawyer. I can promise you that it was worth it because I have several pictures of the two of them afterward. I told them I was worried about it, and I had the text messages that proved it very clearly. Also, my amazing lawyer was able to find transactions in her shared account that seemed to have something to do with Ivan. In the text message record, when he praised her for certain things, he matched the dates of some deals with those times. And it was clear that she was using our money to help the boy she was seeing in Serbia. The lawyer did a great job of making her look like a gold digger, which was funny. She did her best, but I really couldn't find anything wrong with it. And while I'm not perfect, I don't have any flaws that would make my spouse want to leave me. There was nothing I didn't have after the breakup. I kept both my car and my house. As a result of my somewhat serious cheating and the fact that I had set up her business to make money, she did not demand alimony from me. I love you, Judge. We agreed that she could keep the car I bought for her. Something like that didn't seem important to me to stress over. Plus, the fact that she wasn't left with nothing after the split made it easier for me to accept what I got. This is what I like best now. It was tough for me to get back at Ivan. It proved to be very difficult. But one day he was leaving the cafe. I followed him down the street and around the corner. Before I could say anything, I grabbed his attention and hit him in the neck. I used it to break his lip and knock him to the ground, and he looked shocked. It hurt like hell. I wasn't looking for a fight on the street, but I would have taken one if someone had offered it to me. It looks like he got up and left when he realized he wasn't right in this case. It was nice. He knew he was messing with a married woman, so I wish I could have done more. But what I did was enough for me, and it was probably the only thing I could have done without getting charged with a crime. Clarice came after. You do know that I paid her rent, right? It was due again, and it cost a lot because her cafe was in a beautiful part of town. But she called me in tears at the end of May to say she needed to pay the cafe's rent right away but didn't have the money. Normally, it was due on May 1st. It was getting worse, but before I cut her off, I told her to sell the car to get the money she needed. Hey, I didn't answer the phone when she called several times that week. Watch out. I found out she had sold the car when she called to start yelling at me. In fact, she said it was evil that I couldn't help her somehow. I told her it was bad of her to find it fun and exciting to cheat on me. It was something she couldn't answer. I can't wait to see how she deals with her rent problems in May of next year. If the gods will have it, she will also lose the cafe and won't be able to talk to my secretary anymore. It's been great. To be honest, I'm happy, rich, and recently single. You have to keep going, right? Getting divorced, being betrayed, and having an affair hurt a lot. I'm not going to say that. That's what I'm going to do. We're grateful for your presence and the wise words and help you've given us. Thanks a lot. I wish I would never have to write another post. Goodbye.